What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back with another tennis video, and as you can see, I'm going to react to my community posts, polls, results. It's difficult to articulate in this video. So I've been doing community posts for roughly a month, and I would say that I'm really satisfied with them. I think it's much more casual than making a video, and I think I can do much more in community posts than in a 15-minute video. Because I can touch on different topics, I can create interesting mashups, I can ask my audience, and it's really easy to do. It's like 10-15 minutes. I usually tend to write a lengthy description when it comes to polls and, of course, quizzes. But you don't even have to do that. You can just put up a poll like who's better, like, I don't know, Tsitsipas versus Zverev on clay. And, people are going to vote by themselves. So I think that's much more casual. And if you're a content creator, I would definitely recommend this. Now, you're not going to gain a shit ton of subscribers. I'd probably gain like 5 or 10 subscribers based on community posts, but it does help. So I think it's really cool. I would recommend. And I've been doing like 4 or 5 posts daily. You can check them out in my community post tab. And like maybe 70% of them is tennis, maybe 15-20% is F1, and the rest is NFL or just overall sports or just casual life topics like which working hours would you prefer or something like that. So feel free to check them out if you haven't already. And in this video, I think I'm just going to try to react to each and every single one of the polls that I did, give you my personal opinion, what would I vote, and perhaps give you my personal opinion, what did I think that you would have voted, or did I predict it correctly? So let's jump right into this. The first, well, this is not my first poll, but I decided to kind of cut it halfway because I have done really a lot of polls. The first one is which is most likely to happen? Novak winning 30 slams, Alcaraz winning 20 slams, Medvedev winning a Roland Garros in 3 years, or Ben Shelton becoming world number one in 3 years. And this is one of my most balanced polls. And I do think that my audience is usually pro Novak because I'm a Novak fan. So if I would have posted this to a neutral audience, I think these two, maybe even these three, would have been really, really, really equal. So I think good job, Sebastian, when it comes to creating an equal and difficult poll. Now, what I would vote, it's really, really, really difficult to tell because Novak winning 30 slams, it doesn't feel like that much. He's already at 24, but then last year, when you look at the slams, you kind of felt that okay, Novak is a favorite on Wimbledon, Novak is favorite in America, Novak is favorite in Australia. Like this year, he's a favorite at Wimbledon, but Alcaraz has some experience. Sinner is getting better. At Australia, we saw Sinner exploding and he hasn't lost a match since. On clay, it's really going to be difficult to beat Alcaraz, albeit he's not in top form. And what if Nadal comes back? And what if some other guys join? So I don't feel like there's a slam dunk Grand Slam for Novak remaining. I do feel like he's going to win like 26 at least, 26, 27. But 30 is a bit of a stretch. Now, Alcaraz 20 slams. He got off to a great start. But unfortunately, I think Alcaraz was kind of unlucky when it comes to like winning slams early and becoming world number one early because the hype machine really kicked in, and I think there is too much pressure on Alcaraz right now. He's slightly underperforming. He seems to be slightly injury prone also. So winning 20 slams to me, it's not that realistic because only 3 people have done it. And 10 years ago, nobody has done it. So we're talking about some ridiculous numbers that have been done only by the 3 greatest tennis players of all time. And, it's a stretch for Carlos Alcaraz to win 20 slams. Now, can he win 10 slams? I think he should, not should, but like there's a decent chance that Alcaraz wins 10 slams. So 20 is really low. Now, I would actually maybe go with Medvedev winning a Roland Garros in 3 years. Now, here's why. It's only a one tournament. Like he's never going to be a favorite on the French Open. But if Nadal doesn't play, if Alcaraz is out of form, if Novak is old, Medvedev can easily sneak into there. Like he can get a good draw, get to the quarterfinals, maybe play a guy like Rublev, who he always beats in the quarterfinals, and then in the semis maybe he gets Zverev, and you know how it goes with Zverev, he tends to choke in big matches, and then in final maybe he gets Casper Ruud or somebody like that. So it's only a one tournament. Like I know that Medvedev was out in round one next past year, but he did make a quarterfinal already, and he has experience, and it may happen. Like things do not happen for Daniil Medvedev at hardcore Grand Slams. He tends to lose all these close finals. But it's only one tournament. So I would actually maybe vote for this one Yeah, because I don't think that Shelton will become number one in 3 years. He has a really powerful serve and a really powerful forehand, and he's improving. But we saw a lot of people having really powerful serves and really powerful forehands and never reach top five, let alone top one. And the top five in 3 years is going to be really difficult. So I don't think that Shelton is going to do it. Novak is a stretch. Alcaraz is a bigger stretch, and I think Medvedev maybe does it? I don't know. Maybe none of these four happen actually. If I could vote for none, I think I would vote for none actually. So the next one, Nadal winning 16 French Opens, Novak winning the gold medal this year, Medvedev winning 5 slams in his career, and Sinner winning 3 out of 4 slams this year. So this is kind of a lopsided Novak victory here, but I do not agree with this. So, first of all, Nadal winning 16 French Opens is really a stretch because he said that he's going to retire this year, then he kind of didn't say that, but it feels like he will not participate in more than one Roland Garros. So he cannot win two if he participates in one. Now, if Nadal plays at the French Open, he's going to be a favorite, and the bookies still have him as a number three favorite, I think, at this point, behind Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. And that's perfectly fair because we thought in 2022 that Nadal is done. Guess what happened? He won the tournament. So, um, you can simply never write off Rafael Nadal at the French Open, no matter how injured he is, no matter how old he is. Like he is 100 and something and three at the French Open. He has 14 titles. Novak is only one of two people who have ever beaten Rafael Nadal at the French Open. So you have to respect Nadal. But 16 is a bit of a stretch. Now, Novak winning the gold medal, I just don't feel it. I think it's the worst possible combination. Novak playing for Serbia, there is always something off. I wrote in the community posts once this. So Novak playing for Serbia is something like Messi playing for Argentina before the World Cup victory. Like there is just he doesn't suck, but there is just something missing. There is just something off. He loses the matches he's supposed to win. Novak, playing for Serbia, for example, this is my most random favorite stat. Playing for Serbia, Novak against Del Potro is 0-3. Playing in the ATP Tour against Del Potro is 16-1. Who the hell goes 16-1 against Juan Martin Del Potro, and then he goes 0-3 while playing for Serbia? It's kind of weird. There is always something in the Olympic Games. I mean, even in the Davis Cup this year or last year, Yannick Sinner, he has 3 match points and he blows it. Like, when does Novak Djokovic blow 3 match points? Never. And it just happens. So I do not think that there is a good aura when it comes to Novak playing for Serbia. Plus, it's the worst possible tournament. It's the best of three on clay, which Novak hasn't performed well in ages, basically. I think the last Masters he won on clay was Madrid, maybe 20, in 22. I'm not really sure. No, he lost to Alcaraz. Then in 21, in 20, I'm not really sure. He hasn't won a Masters tournament on clay in a while. And he just simply doesn't do well on best of three clay tournaments. So, um, it's going to be difficult for Novak to win the Olympic gold. I think that something is going to happen. I'm not really confident about Novak winning the gold. Now, can Medvedev win 5 slams? He can. He should have had three by now, but he blew it. He's still only 28 years old. He is probably roughly in his peak right now. If he stays healthy, he can definitely win slams. He can win any hardcore slam any year for the upcoming, I don't know, 6, 7 years if he stays healthy. Plus, if he improves on grass, he can definitely use his power for serve. And Wimbledon is going to be a sort of like a toss-up random tournament when Novak retires. So I can see this happening now. Will he do it? Of course, the younger guys are going to start breaking in. Um, I don't know. It's going to be a stretch for Daniil. I think he ends up having maybe 3 or 4 slams. Five is a bit of a stretch. Now, can Sinner win 3 out of 4? Right now, Sinner is unbeatable. But there is going to be a loss somewhere. And that loss is going to stink. Now, how will Sinner rebound? When will that loss come? Is it going to be a random round one? Is it going to be a final? Is it going to come on a ATP 500, a Masters tournament, a Grand Slam? Maybe Sinner goes on a Novak Djokovic 2011 run and wins everything until the French Open. And then, Novak Djokovic is in the Roger Federer character and beats him in semifinals, something like that. So who knows what happens? I do not think it's unrealistic because Sinner is good on any surface, basically. He can win on grass, clay, indoor hard, outdoor hard. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe he wins another slam this year. It's kind of difficult. So again, it's just four to me unrealistic scenarios. Now, if I would go by the numbers, I think I would have to vote for Novak winning the Olympic gold because he's statistically most likely because Nadal is probably not even going to play two French Opens. Medvedev winning five slams is like maybe one in 10 occasions. Sinner winning three out of four is also a stretch. So I think Novak winning the gold, maybe like a 5 or 6 to 1 odds or something like that. So if I would go with maths, I think I would go with Novak. But personally, I just don't think it's happening. I think I would probably go with either Sinner or Medvedev or something like that. And I knew that you would vote for Novak because it's the most likely to happen. Okay, wow. Okay, so this was kind of interesting to make. Who would you rather have in the GOAT debate or in the GOAT race, actually? The 2010 Australian Open, Roger Federer, and the 2016 Roland Garros, Novak Djokovic. Now, basically, what I wanted to do in this poll is to like throw you back in 2010 in 2016 throw you back in this situation. You're Roger Federer 2010 Australian Open, you just won your whatever 16 Grand Slam or something like that. You're on top of the world again after a weird 2009 season when some guys beat you, but you managed to finally win the French Open. You regained the number one spot. And how many Grand Slams would you win? Like, what's the realistic bet there? 25, 30? Like, Federer was virtually unbeatable. Now, same with Novak. Go back to 2016. You've beaten everybody. Federer seems to be washed. Nadal is washed. Andy Murray is just Andy Murray. Like, you always beat him. He's going to be the perpetual number two. There's no real young threats to you. You're still only 29 years old. You're going to win 30 slams. Like, who would you rather pick? And I think it's a really difficult choice. Now, you actually picked Roger Federer 55%. And I do think it's fair because at that point, Federer had four slams more than Novak in 2016. So I do think it's fair. But Federer, I think, objectively in 2010 and forwards had a tougher opposition because Nadal was still there. Um, and Nadal was really kicking Federer's ass at that point of time. Like Nadal was just destroying Federer's backhand with his banana forehand. And of course some new guys like Del Potro, and back then we didn't really know about the severity of Del Potro's injury. Novak was kind of shit-ish in 2009, but it's still young. Andy Murray is still young. Robin Soderling maybe can do something. So there are plenty of guys who can actually threaten Roger Federer. While in 2016, I didn't feel like anybody could really threaten Novak, and you can clearly see in the ATP race, it was between Novak and Andy Murray, and you can clearly see it in 2017 too. It was between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Like nobody was actually really good. Like Zverev was number three in the race with 4,000 points. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I do not disagree with Roger Federer slightly being ahead of the 2016 Novak Djokovic. Okay, so what is this? Oh, okay. Who will end up having better career stats, Andy Murray or Daniil Medvedev? So I said stats because I didn't really want to say who will end up having a better career, who will end up being a better player, something like that. Because Andy Murray did play in the top during the toughest era in tennis history, and some people actually view him as the fourth best tennis player of all time. Um, I said stats, and I said stats because right now Medvedev is roughly like I don't know 40-50% of what Andy Murray did. He has one slam and he has three. He has 16 weeks at number one, and he has 41. He has six Masters tournaments, and he has 14. He has one ATP final, and he has one. He has 20 tournaments, I think, and he has 47 or something like that. So he's roughly at 40, depends what you look at, percent. And I think Medvedev can catch him. I think Medvedev can win three slams. I think, I mean, he's relatively close at becoming number one even right now. He needs to string together a couple of good wins. And, if he has a good clay run, I mean, he can easily become number one. It's not that unrealistic. Um, can he win eight more Masters tournaments? For sure. Can he win another ATP final? For sure. Can he win Olympic gold? For sure. So I do not think this is totally unrealistic. And I was expecting, I wasn't really surprised because maybe some of you didn't get the gist of the question. And I'm not calling you stupid, by the way. But I was expecting a 50-50 result here. And honestly, I'd probably go with Medvedev right here, right now. Um, Now, another what is most likely to happen? Dominic Thiem back in the top 10 again, Dimitrov back in the top 3 again, Zverev becoming number 1 whenever, and Novak reaching 500 weeks at number 1. Now, I was surprised by the results here because, yes, Novak is number 1 and he's at week 414, which means he needs 86 more to reach 500, which is like 1 year and 8, 9 months, something like that. So that's not really a lot. But Novak really, I mean, the COVID thing kind of hit up the fact that Novak is sort of like a prime timer, a part timer right now. He's only playing slams and he plays like 50, 60% of the Masters tournaments. Like, he may play Indian Wells in Miami, but I'm 100% sure if he plays both, he's going to skip Monte Carlo. He's going to probably play like shit in Madrid. And then in Rome, he's going to play slightly better. He's going to slightly, raise his form like he always does. So I mean, 500 weeks at number one, especially with Alcaraz and Sinner being there and Medvedev being there, it's really a stretch in my opinion. I think if I would be the odds makers, I would set the line at like 450, 460, something like that. I do think that at some point this year, Novak is going to lose the number one spot to probably Yannick Sinner. He has a shot at losing the number one spot either after the French Open, after the Wimbledon, or after the US Open because Sinner doesn't really defend a lot of points in Grand Slams. And then after it, can he regain it? I mean, it's going to be difficult. I do not think that this is really realistic. I mean, it is realistic, but it's probably like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 times. Zverev becoming number one, I still think it can happen. I think Zverev is truly a guy who has all the tools, but he somehow finds a way to not win the crucial points. Like he had a breakthrough win versus Alcaraz. He's up 2-0 versus Medvedev. He's dominating him, and there is just something that never happens with Zverev. There is not that one point, that one shot, that one break that he gets and which finally pushes him to his first Grand Slam victory, to his number one spot. But I think if it comes together, Zverev is basically a almost unbeatable guy. Like if Zverev is playing well, I mean, he's another level. So I do think that this can happen. Team top 10 again. I'm kind of jumping all over the place. Team top 10 again. I mean, he basically said that if he sucks this year, he's going to retire. So I don't think that's realistic. I think, if you're injured, that's fine. But I mean, there has been what, like 24 months since team came back from the injury and he's just doing nothing. He's like Andy Murray playing the same match versus anybody versus the world number 20 and the world number 200. So it's like it's just not happening for Dominic Team. And Dimitrov top three again. Dimitrov has been playing well, but the problem with Dimitrov is that he always somehow remembers that he's Dimitrov. Like at the Australian Open, everybody was like looking at that draw and saw, ooh, Medvedev and Dimitrov, round four, that's going to be spicy for Daniil. I mean, Dimitrov can, pull this off and maybe, reach a semifinal, reach a final for the first time, something like that. And then he loses to Nuno Borges. It's like, come on, like, it's man. It's just you cannot have those losses anymore. And Dimitrov is not a young guy. So, um, top three again. I mean, something has to happen. Like the top five has to fall apart like it did in 2022. And Dimitrov has to be in a great form and then maybe, but I don't think that's realistic. So if I would have to vote, I would go with Zverev becomes number one. Okay, next one. It's the sequel of the Federer versus Djokovic GOAT race. Who would you rather have, 2013 U.S. Open Nadal or 2010 Federer? Now, I kind of dig deeply when it comes to their stats. And I was fascinated that Nadal back in 2009 already had more Masters tournaments than Roger Federer. It's ridiculous. Nadal had a lot of stats already better than Roger Federer, besides, of course, Grand Slams and weeks at number one. So weeks number one is Nadal's weakest stat, and it's mostly because Nadal kind of switches off after the US Open. I was kind of thinking about this. Like this dude has won one big tournament from September to basically March in his career, which was 2005 Madrid Masters. Indoor hardcore, his only indoor hardcore title. He hasn't won Paris. He hasn't won the ATP finals. Australia, yes, he won two Australian Opens. I forgot about that. But he tends to like lose in the semifinal, losing the final, losing the quarterfinal. So basically, he's like not winning points for 5 months in the season, and that's why he's not becoming world number one. So, but otherwise, Nadal was really dominant. And at the 2013 US Open, he beat Novak Djokovic. Federer had a shit year. Murray had a shit year, despite winning the Wimbledon, actually. So everybody thought that, look, Nadal was going to dominate. So I do not disagree with this. I think a 27-year-old Nadal, post US Open 2013, who basically had one loss which was at Wimbledon since 2013 Madrid. Like he won Madrid, he won Rome, he won the French Open, lost in the first round of Wimbledon, won Canada, won Cincinnati, won US Open, destroyed everybody. Only guy out of the big three to win Canada, Cincinnati, and US Open the same year, back to back to back. So I do not disagree with this vote. I would probably go with Nadal too. Okay, so this was really interesting to do. Who will end up having a better career, Carlos Alcaraz or Yannick Sinner? So if I would have done this poll 6 months ago, this would be at like 95%, and this would be at like 5%. And those 5% would be probably the Kuroda boys or Karata boys or something like that. Um, it's really interesting to observe recency bias because of this, because Alcaraz hasn't won a tournament since Wimbledon, and Sinner has been dominating pretty much since Beijing, I think, or Tokyo or something like that. Although he has won only one big tournament, which is the Australian Open. Like he hasn't won the Paris Masters, he hasn't won the Shanghai Masters, and he hasn't won the ATP Finals. So it's kind of interesting. But Sinner has been, roughly speaking, the best player for the past 6 months. I have to admit that, even as a Novak fan. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Alcaraz is still ahead when it comes to Masters tournament. Sinner has only one Masters tournament. Alcaraz has four. So Alcaraz has two slams. Alcaraz is a former number one, so he's slightly ahead, and he is slightly younger. Um, so technically speaking, he's a better position. He has, I don't know, I guess a better forehand. Sinner has a better serve. Sinner probably has a better backhand. Alcaraz has better volleys and drop shots. He's faster. Probably better in defense, although Sinner is also good. Definitely has better passing shots. So it's kind of like whatever. It depends how Alcaraz's backhand and serve develops. Now, what doesn't really work for Alcaraz is that he is by far, I mean, not by far, but by 2 inches, the shortest guy in the top 10. And tennis is kind of becoming, I mean, it has already become a tall man sport. So you basically have to be like, at least 185 to have a really good serve. And Alcaraz is like 182. So, Alcaraz probably missed out on an inch or two. Um, Pause. Uh, Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that Alcaraz, if he's like 2 inches taller, probably has an easier life right now, and I would definitely vote for Alcaraz. But this way, it's really 50-50. I don't know. Maybe I'm affected by the recency bias. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would vote, and I totally agree with the almost coin flip results. Another what if, not what if, but most likely to happen. Stan back to top 20, team back to top 15, Nadal back to top 10, neither. So I think I would vote for neither, actually, or Nadal. It's a toss up because you roughly need 3,000 points to get into the top 10. I don't think that team is going to be in top 15. I don't think that Wawrinka is going to be top 20. Wawrinka is actually really old. So do you think that Nadal can get 3,000 points, which is basically winning the French Open? Because if he's a finalist, he gets 1.3K and then he has to win like two Masters tournaments, something like that. Basically, he has to play all season. So if he wins the French, he needs either one Masters tournament, which I don't think that it's going to happen. Although Nadal is probably not going to skip the whole clay season. If I would have to make a guess, he plays one or two clay masters, and probably if he's healthy, like Barcelona or something like that. But can he get to 3,000 points? I don't think he's going to play Wimbledon. He's probably going to try to play in America. It's just close. I mean, it's really close between Nider and Rafael Nadal. It all boils down to the fact: do you think that Rafael Nadal can win a French Open? And honestly, I think he has a good shot, but I don't know. I don't know. I would probably vote neither. But if I'm a Rafa fan, I'm voting for Rafa. If I'm neutral, yeah, I'm 50-50 here. Um, and of course, the final installment of the trilogy, 2013 Nadal versus 2016 Djokovic. I was actually surprised that Novak won this because Novak lost to Federer and Federer lost to Nadal. So therefore, how the hell can Novak beat Nadal? Okay, so everybody beats somebody, I guess. It's kind of weird. I'll probably go with 2013 Nadal here because of the sheer dominance. Although the 2016 Djokovic was really dominant too, but I think Nadal. Would I go with Nadal? He already had injury history, so phew, it's really fucking close. I mean, I'll maybe go with Nadal because of the dominance. But then again, I mean, he never won the ATP finals. He never won Shanghai. It's tough, man. I make tough calls. It's really interesting. I don't know. Okay, who's a better tennis player, Matteo Berrettini grass, Nick Kyrgios grass? I was surprised by the results. I thought it was going to be 50-50, simply because I felt like both of them are, of course, Wimbledon finalists, but I feel like Nick Kyrgios is this guy who was always out by round four. Like he has, I think, one other quarterfinal. He's always out by round three, round four, and it's not like Berrettini had a shit ton of good results in Wimbledon. But like when you see Berrettini, you see a guy who's both in his peak, a established top 10 player, and a guy who has a great game on grass. When it comes to Kyrgios, he's a guy who has great game on grass in theory, and everything has to come together. So that's why I would actually go with Matteo Berrettini. And I was expecting him to actually win this poll, but I guess you went with Kyrgios because of the more recent final, and that Matteo has been struggling with injuries. But then again, Kyrgios hasn't played in a year, so I don't know. Maybe you think that Kyrgios is more talented. I don't think he has a better serve. I mean, he hides it really well. It's really fast, but Berrettini also has a bomb of a serve. So I don't know. I thought he was going to go with Berrettini here. It's interesting. I disagree with this. Who's better, Ben Shelton or Denis Shapovalov? Two big lefties. Now, when it comes to Shelton, he has been on a okay-ish form. He's just kind of playing like a borderline top 20 guy right now. He's winning some, he's losing some. He had a hot streak starting from the US Open up until Tokyo, which he won, I think. And then, kind of here and there, getting some wins, getting some losses. It is what it is. I mean, he's still really young. He's, what is he, like 21, 22, something like that. When it comes to El Chapo, I mean, he's this guy who's always going to fail. Like, I've never seen a guy choke that much. I've never seen a guy lose so many 7-5 sets. Like even today, he's playing Andy Murray. It's 5-5 in the tiebreak, and he double folds, of course, and then he loses the match. So it's just I don't know. Shop was is just something wrong with this guy. Uh, I mean, he was a former top 10 player, but he hasn't, accomplished that much. He only has, I think, one career title or something like that, and Shelton already has that. So I think it's pretty fair to say that Ben Shelton is the better tennis player, although Shapovalov had a higher ranking and so on. And he was, 17 years old when he broke into the scene. But yeah, I would go with Ben Shelton. Who is a better player on clay, Casper Ruud or David Ferrer? So I did this because the stats technically say that it's Casper Ruud because he has two finals and David Ferrer has only one. I think Casper Ruud has done a little bit better on Masters tournaments, but David Ferrer is Mr. Consistency when it comes to early part of 2010s, especially on clay. He made a 2013 final because the draw opened up nicely and he beat some guys that were kind of equal or maybe even slightly better than him. But he is, really good when it comes to beating those type of players. Now he wasn't good when it comes to beating the big three, but he made a final, and I think David Ferrer was a really consistent, good tennis player. And Casper Ruud, yes, he made three finals, but he also didn't beat. Like he didn't beat Novak, he didn't beat Rafa, he didn't beat Roger. I mean, the draw kind of opened up a couple of times for him. He beat some guys like Zverev, which is perfectly good, perfectly fine, great achievement. But I would definitely go with David Ferrer here, and I'm happy that 74% of you said what I thought. Okay, let's continue. We're kind of roughly midway through this video. Okay, what is most likely to happen? I got 409 votes here. So by the way, the most votes I had is like 454, which is really great for me. I'm really happy. So I've been getting a lot of votes when it comes to this, like what is most likely to happen type of scenario. So Rublev, wait, this is what is most likely to happen in 2024. Okay, in 2024. So Rublev, Grand Slam semifinalist. Medvedev, Roland Garros finalist. Tsitsipas, top five again. Sinner becoming number one. Now I would go with Sinner. But I am surprised that Tsitsipas is so low. Like I know that he hasn't been on a good run, but to become a top five player, I mean, he needs like a good string of results, like 2, 3 months, maybe make a Roland Garros final, and he's back at top five. Like it's not impossible. I'm not telling him to win a major. I'm not telling him to be top three. I mean, when you look at the construction, like we have top four guys here, and then kind of Zverev and Rublev at 5 and 6, and then Tsitsipas has maybe like 2,000 points less. So it's not that much. Now he does defend a hefty amount of points when it comes to the clay swing, but I don't think that's completely not realistic. Now, for Medvedev to make a Roland Garros semifinal, final, excuse me, he would most likely have to beat somebody good. So I don't think that this is going to happen. Rublev making the semifinal can happen, and I actually truly believe that he was going to do that because I was like, man, nobody can lose 10 straight quarterfinals, right? Well, he did. So I would go with this. And then maybe even Tsitsipas at two, Rublev at three, and Medvedev at four. So I was really surprised that Tsitsipas is so low. Okay, let's continue. And I do think that Sinner actually will become number one this year. Um, who has a better serve, Ivo Karlovic or John Isner? What? People said Ivo. What? 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 Who had the better serve, Ivo Karlovic or John Isner? Like I know that Isner has more aces, but it's only because he played more matches because he was the better tennis player. Like I'm not asking you who was a better tennis player. I'm asking you who had the better serve. And Ivo Karlovic, I think, I mean, if you look at the stats, if you look at the ace percentage, the serve game percentage, the first points won on first serve, something like that percentage, I think Ivo is better than John Isner. Like John was great, not do not get me wrong, but I think Evo should be at 65 and John should be at 35. I think people went with John because he was the better tennis player, but I think Evo slightly has better serve. Okay, let's continue. Best Novak Djokovic season. Oh, yeah. So it's kind of fun. This was easy to make because when I have four options. So by the way, if you're making community posts, you can only add four options if you're adding pictures, and you can add five options if you're not adding pictures. So I usually add three with pictures, and then I say other. The great thing about this was Novak had exactly four seasons with three Grand Slams. And yes, you can maybe say 2018 was great. You can maybe say, I don't know, 2014 was great, 2019 was great, or something like that. But I think these four seasons are clearly the best, so I just included these four without the other options. If I would have to rank them, and by the way, I agree that 2015 is by far the best. Um, if I would have to rank them, I think 2015. And then is it 2011 and 2023? So 2011 was kind of weak towards the end. He was 1 point essentially away from winning only two majors. He had some bugging injuries, injury bugs. I don't know how to say that. He didn't win the ATP finals. He didn't win Paris. Paris. Why do I keep saying Paris? Paris. Jesus. The end of that season wasn't that good. 2023, I mean, Novak basically won everything that he played besides Wimbledon. He won Cincinnati, he won Paris, he won the ATP finals, he won three majors. He didn't win a you know, Masters tournament because doesn't do well there. And he couldn't play in Indian Wells and he couldn't play in Miami. So I think 2023 is actually slightly better than 2011. And I think 2021 is easily the worst season because he was, even on Grand Slam, struggling to get wins and he didn't really win anything else besides that. I think he won Cincinnati that year. I'm not really sure, and nothing else basically. And of course, no, he didn't even play Cincinnati that year because of the Olympics. Yeah. So I think 2021 is the worst, and then probably 2011, 2023 is a bit better, and then 2015 at number one. Okay. Biggest upset. Nadal Soderling, I misspelled this, so this is Roland Garros 2009. Sergey Stakhovsky, Roger Federer 2013 Wimbledon, Djokovic Curry 2016 Wimbledon. Now, I don't know what were the odds in 2009. Certainly, nobody thought that Soderling was going to beat Nadal, but Soderling has been a really good player. Now, there have been good players who have lost to Nadal, of course. So, this is also well balanced because you have the best player here against the most unbeatable player there. So, I was kind of surprised that the poll is this lopsided because, again, I mean, Federer for 11 years hasn't lost to a journeyman like Sergei Stakhovsky. Like Stakhovsky was ranked number 116 coming into this tournament. Like Federer had some losses, but it was to at that point Nadal. It was to Berdy. Who did he lose in 2011? Tonga, and then he won in 2012. Right? He didn't even lose to Novak at that point. So I mean, to lose to Sergei Stakhovsky, it's kind of an upset. And then Djokovic, I mean, everybody thought that he was going to win that Wimbledon. Like there was nobody to beat Novak. You can tell me, you can say maybe Andy Murray, but no, I mean, come on. Nobody thought that Novak was going to lose. In hindsight, it made sense because the burnouts after winning the Roland Garros and something like that. And then in hindsight, Stakhovsky beating Federer kind of made sense because Federer had injury problems. But I was thinking about, okay, maybe this is number one, maybe this is number two, maybe this is number three, but it's much more closer than this. Okay. Who would be the best tennis player out of these four? Mike Tyson, Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James, Usain Bolt. I was surprised. I understand why. I understand why did you say Ronaldo, but I actually thought LeBron James. And here's why. LeBron James is as tall as John is. So imagine him. So automatically he's going to have a great serve. So imagine LeBron James having John Isner's serve, and then he's going to be miles better when it comes to movement and, of course, backhand defense and something like that, drop shots, all that, than John Isner. So John Isner got up to number 8. Imagine a athletic freak like LeBron James moving like Daniil Medvedev, having the speed. I'm not going to say he has the speed of Rafael Nadal or something like that, but LeBron, I mean, go look at Miami Heat 2013 highlights. You cannot tell me that guy couldn't dominate basically any sports besides, I don't know, table tennis and gymnastics. Like, that's a freak of nature. Um, phew, I mean, if he learns how to play tennis tactically, Jesus, has the shots, Jesus. I mean, LeBron James here, I would not go with Mike Tyson. I would not go with Usain Bolt simply because he tried football and it didn't really work out. And Usain Bolt was good on like short distance runs, so I mean, his body wasn't trained for stamina, basically. I mean, for long term stamina. And Ronaldo, I totally understand why did you go with Ronaldo, because Ronaldo has a good size for tennis. He's 6'2". He's fast. He would have a good movement, but I think LeBron, if he would have learned how to play tennis, man, that would be disgusting. That would have been disgusting. Okay, so the question was, will Saudi Arabia have a Grand Slam by 2040? I didn't want to say yes or no. I added no, but they will hold the Masters, and somehow everybody voted for that, so we have a perfect penis formation here. And I will also vote for this because 2014 is in 16 years. Australia has a deal up to 2046, so that's not going to get moved. I think that was the most likely thing to happen. Australian Open moving to Saudi. US Open is always going to stay no matter what. French Open has too much tradition. Wimbledon even more. So I don't think that any of the slams are getting moved. Will we get a fifth slam? I think that'll be too much because when do you even put the fifth slam? Like in late February, a month after Australian Open, in October, a month after the US Open, maybe not even a month, like 3 weeks. Where do you put that? So I think no, but it will hold a Masters or even ATP Finals or even both is completely a realistic choice. I think by 2030, actually, they will have either a Masters or a ATP Finals or even both. Um, for yes, something has to happen, something weird has to happen. So I don't think that's happening. Um, who has the best serve in the top 10? Hubert Hurkacz, Daniil Medvedev, Alexander Zverev, or other. So basically, everybody has a good serve in the top 10. That's why they are top 10. Um, I don't think that Deminor. So by the way, Tsitsipas is right now not in top 10. So that's why he's not in the poll. I think he would be like number 4 guy here. I don't think that Deminor has the best serve, although he has pretty good serve. I don't think that Alcaraz has the best serve. I don't think that Rublev has the best serve. I don't think that Rune has the best serve. So those 4 guys are gone. I don't think that Djokovic has the best serve, although he has great percentages, but that's mostly due to his play. Fritz is a good serve, but I don't think is as good as, let's say, Hurkacz. Sinner, I mean, he hits the ball hard, but I don't think he's as good as these three. And then Zverev, Medvedev, Hurkacz. Now, I think that Hurkacz is number 1. I think that Zverev is actually number 2, and I think Medvedev is number 3. So this poll is pretty good. Maybe the percentages are too lopsided. Maybe I'll prefer to see like 50% here, 22% here, 17 here, and the rest is like 5 or 6, whatever. I don't know if that was 100. I'm not really sure. I'm making this video for like 40 minutes. But anyways, I do agree with the results of the poll. Now, who is a better player? Now, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised. Well, that was kind of weird. I was low-key expecting this, but I disagree. Who is a better tennis player, Hubert Hurkacz, Karen Khachanov? So you look at the rankings, see Hubert Hurkacz number 8, Karen Khachanov number 17, something like that. And you say, well, Hubert Hurkacz is a better tennis player. Karen Khachanov just won his 5th tournament. Hurkacz has 7. Khachanov has 1 Masters, Hurkacz has 2. Okay, Hurkacz is a bit better. But overall, if you look at the Grand Slams, Khachanov has been this consistent guy who always makes the second week, always at least round four, if not quarterfinal, if not semifinal. Where Hurkacz can lose in like the first round, the second round. You will not be surprised if you see Hubert Hurkacz walking home after one tennis match. So I think that Khachanov, and of course, Khachanov was a briefly top 10 tennis player last year before he got injured. He was sort of on the fringes of breaking in the top 10. He was top 10 for a week, I think, before getting injured. And now he's like at number 17 because he didn't collect a lot of points in the second half of the season, while Horkach has been on a decent form. But overall, if you look at them, I think it's a really similar player. And I do think that Khachanov actually has a better forehand. Horkach's forehand is kind of, he can miss a lot of shots. Um, and they're really similar. So I think that Loki Karen Khachanov is the better player than Hubert Hurkacz, despite their rankings, despite Hubert Hurkacz's form. I think this is recency bias. I think Khachanov is a really good underrated player, and I would put him slightly ahead of Hubert Hurkacz. Oh man, this was my favorite. Would Roger Federer win more majors with a two-handed backhand? Now, I'm not sure if people said no because it's Novak fan base, so they're like, nah, Federer would never win more than 20 majors no matter what. Or that people actually genuinely think about this. Maybe Federer fans voted and said, no, I mean, Federer's one-handed backhand is so perfect. But I could have not disagreed more because if you look at Federer and Nadal head to head, and I wrote a lengthy description, well, it's not that lengthy, but you can basically read it what I'm about to say. Look, it's 24-16 head to head, but it used to be 23 to 10 for Rafael Nadal. And even on hard courts, he used to lead Federer 9 to 6. Federer only beat him outside of Wimbledon when it comes to majors at the 2017 Australian Open final. So Nadal's banana forehand was bombarding Federer's weaker backhand, and therefore there is something wrong with the backhand because you have at that point the second best guy in the world, exploiting your weakness. So what the fuck happened? Okay. So there is something to address there. Now I'm not going to say that Federer needed to change the 200 backhand in like 2007 or something like that because it's probably impossible. But even later on, I mean, the reason why Novak beat Federer three times at Wimbledon was because Novak managed to get a backhand fest out of a tennis match, basically, at a grass court tennis match. So, while Federer could have beaten, maybe weaker guys with his one-handed backhand, and other guys could not exploit it. I mean, Nadal, especially Nadal, and later, a little bit later on, Djokovic did exploit that, and Federer lost a lot of Grand Slams because he was losing to those guys on Grand Slams, basically. So I do think that Roger Federer would have won 2000, would have won like 25-ish majors with a 200 backhand. I don't think that you can point at a single major and say Roger Federer won this because he had a two-handed or a one-handed backhand. I don't think that you can. You can say that with Stan Wawrinka. You can clearly say that Wawrinka has overachieved because of his one-handed backhand, but he's probably the only example in the past 20 years of that. Like every single other tennis player won majors either because they are supremely talented, Dominic Thiem, and of course Roger Federer, the great Roger Federer, and they didn't win because they had a one-handed backhand. For example, Tsitsipas, who probably could have won a major with a more stable backhand. Now I'm starting to stutter here, so I might as well just finish this video quickly. I have like 4 or 5 remaining. Okay. Greatest Novak Djokovic Grand Slam victory from 2008 to 2016. I was about to put everything together, but I could not pick three, so I decided to split it in two parts. And I picked the 2011 US Open, the 2012 Australian Open, 2016 French Open, of course, left the other, because there have been other majors like the 2008 Australian Open, 2011 Wimbledon, which were really great. Now, what do I think? I do think that Australia is great. No, not only because of the final, but because of the epic semi-final with Andy Murray, which was 4 hours and 10 minutes, I think, which is 5 sets, 7-5 in the fifth. I do think that the 2016 Roland Garros is slightly overrated, and I would love to change that for the 2015 Roland Garros because he did beat Nadal that tournament, and he, if everything stays the same, would have won the calendar Grand Slam. But we got the 2016 Roland Garros and the Nole Slam, and that was just it felt like it's just dragging, and we are just waiting for everything to end. And I wrote it in the description that final point was like Novak Djokovic's Roland Garros career up to that point in a nutshell. Like you're just waiting for it to be over, to finally win, to finally be done. It was an endless backhand rally with Andy Murray. It was like 40 shots or something like that. And Murray finally made a mistake, and it was just like a fucking relief. Like, thank fucking God, man. And the 2011 US Open was also really epic. Of course, saving the match points with Roger Federer and the Rafael Nadal final. So actually, the 2011 US Open should be a bit higher. I would go with the 2012 Australian Open, but these two I think should be number one and number two ahead of the 2016 Roland Garros. Now, second one, which is the greatest Novak Djokovic Grand Slam from 2018 to 2020. Well, three he didn't win in 24. Now, I went with 2018 Wimbledon because you have to include that. That's the rebirth of Novak. 2019 Wimbledon, we all know what happened, and 2021 Roland Garros. Now, I agree with this completely. I'd put 2021 Roland Garros at one, 2019 Wimbledon at two, and 2018 Wimbledon at three. 2019 Wimbledon, look, Novak wasn't even playing good. Like, just Roger should have won that match. I mean, easily. I don't know how the Novak pulled it off. I mean, that was greatness. That was absolutely greatness. I was watching that and I was like, man, what the hell is going on? Like, Novak could not touch Rogers Federer's serve. I think he broke him for the first time in late fourth set. And then he, of course, re-broke him at 8-7 and 15-40. So I think he only got two breaks in that match. Maybe he got three. Was there an early break in the fifth set? I do not actually. Yeah, Novak had a break in the fifth. I do not remember actually. Did he? I'm not really sure. Basically, it was really struggling with Federer serve. Um, but 2021 Roland goes that was just so epic. That's my favorite Novak slam of all time. Not only because beating Rafael Nadal, okay, but like from round four onwards, every single match is so fucking epic. Like the Lorenzo Musetti round four match. 6-7, 6-7, 6-1, 6-la, 4-la, forfeit, because he's not even injured, he's just rage quitting. Like, how can you not appreciate that? And then the quarterfinal versus Matteo Berrettini, destroying Berrettini in the first two sets, and then just cannot break him. Like he cannot break him, and then he loses the third set tiebreak after like losing 2 points in his serve the whole set, and then he's just cannot break it. What the fuck is going on? And when he finally fucking breaks Berrettini, the roar, man, that's like the psychopath maniac roar from Novak. You could tell that this motherfucker wants to beat Nadal, man. That was the moment when people knew that he's coming for Rafa. And then of course the Rafa victory, which was the final before the final, and then you have to beat Stefanos Tsitsipas, who has been playing great. And then Tsitsipas is up 2-0, and then Novak just decides to play better and beats him. And so I mean that has to be the most epic Grand Slam in this period, if not all time when it comes to Novak Djokovic. Okay. I did this poll yesterday, so I'm not sure how many people voted. 164 people voted. Where would you rank Andy Murray, Sir Andy Murray, all time on the tennis list, on the males tennis list, all time tennis list? There are some people who are going to say that Andy Murray is top four all time or top five, whatever. I disagree with that because there's a couple of things. So I think that's disrespectful to guys who have won 10 plus Grand Slams, like to Sampras and McEnroe and Agassi and Jimmy Connors and so on. I know that not every single one of them has won 10, but you get what I'm saying. To even Lendl and so on. Um, like Andy Murray should have done a bit more. Like I totally understand that it's a tough era, but he should have done a bit more. Like he should have had like 7 Grand Slams, 100 weeks at number one, 20 Masters tournaments. For you to say that, okay, I understand that Pistol Pete has 14 Grand Slams and Andy Murray has 7, but Andy Murray, played in a tougher era. Because if you take Pete Sampras and put him in Andy Murray's shoes, do you think that he only wins 3 majors? Becomes number one for 41 weeks? I don't think so. I think he wins like 7, 8, or something like that. He loses some that he would have won, but I think he wins more. I think there is some guys in tennis history that would have done better in Andy Murray's shoes. And the other thing that Andy Murray's career is just not that long. Like it's basically from 2008 to 2016, 2017. I know he's still playing, but this is nothing. Like he's world number 67. He's just like playing, winning matches, losing matches, whatever. He's just competing. Like he's not winning. His career is 8 to 9 years. When it comes to season by season, he had a great finish in 2008. He had a okay 29. He had Ant 2010. He had a good 2011, which was overshadowed by Novak and basically by everybody, but he really had a good 2011. He had a good 2012. He had a, I mean, the Wimbledon saved his 2013 season, but the overall wasn't that good. 2014 was shit. 2015 was good. He ended up number two. 2016 was good, and 2017 was shit. I mean, he was basically injured. He made one semifinal in the Roland Garros. So just you kind of feel that if you pick some all-time great from any period of time, like Jamie Connors, something like that, I think Jamie Connors was basically top five for 15 years. Then Andy Murray was top five for 8 years. So it's like, come on, like you put that guy in there, you think that that guy does more than Andy. I mean, of course, Andy Murray got unfortunate with the hip injury, but yeah, I think borderline top 10 is fair. So like if you rank them like number nine, number 10, number 11, I think that's the optimal range. I think outside of number 15 is kind of disrespectful to Andy Murray. So I totally agree with this poll actually. And the last one, who is a better tennis player, Alexander Zverev on clay or Stefanos Tsitsipas on clay? Well, the thing about this is that I actually thought that you're going to vote Tsitsipas. And then I wrote like a lengthy description. Why do I think that Zverev is actually better? And then you ended up voting for Zverev. Now this poll has been posted like 5, 6 hours ago, so not a lot of people voted. 86 votes, as I can see right now. But it does tend to stay the same, and the gap is significant. So I do think that Zverev is going to win this poll when it's all done and dusted. And I agree. I think so. Tsitsipas is viewed as this clay specialist because he's not that good on grass. I mean, he's not good on grass at all, and he tends to like not do well at the U.S. Open. He tends to have good results at other Masters tournaments, but for some reason he always fails to do anything at the U.S. Open. So his season is basically Australia, which is really good, clay season, which is really good, and then everything else that sucks. Well, Zverev is kind of like, what is Zverev's best surface? Is it clay? I mean, statistically, it's actually clay. He has like 72% win percentage, and then hard is like 70 or 69, something like that. So he's slightly better on clay. But Zverev is like an all-rounder. I would not be surprised if he wins his first major, if he wins his first major at Wimbledon, for example, which is technically his worst surface. So I think Zverev can play indoor, outdoor clay, whereas hardcore, whatever. And that's why I thought that you're gonna go with Tsitsipas because Tsitsipas is a specialist, but Zverev is kind of like, I mean, what is Zverev's favorite surface? So I wrote down some stats like Zverev has more Masters tournaments, higher percentage at Wimbledon, higher percentage at Masters tournaments, and so on and so forth. And you actually listened to me and said Alexander Zverev. Okay. So that's it. I mean, I was talking for like 45 minutes. Jesus, I have no idea how long I was been talking. 52 minutes. Jesus, this is a long ass video. This is probably my longest video on this channel. Okay. Thank you very much. If you listen to all of this, it means a lot to me. We're actually, I think, at 394 subscribers, so I need six subscribers to get to the illustrious 400 mark, which is a bit less what Novak Djokovic has weeks at number one, but maybe I can catch Novak soon. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. I'll buy the camera. I'll buy the camera in a week, I promise you.